Across the vast, dust-choked expanses of the East African savanna, a quiet matriarch stands motionless, her weathered skin bearing the silent map of half a century of survival, holding in her mind an invisible archive of paths, voices, and long-vanished water sources that determines whether her family lives or dies. For generations, human culture has repeated the popular phrase that an elephant never forgets, treating it as an amusing piece of folklore. Yet, when cognitive biologists finally set out to test this legendary total recall in the wild, they discovered a reality far narrower, far more precise, and immensely more fascinating than the myth. In the complex social world of African elephants, herds do not follow the largest or most aggressive individuals, but are guided exclusively by the oldest female, a leader who may live 50 to 60 years, accumulating decades of critical environmental knowledge that no young animal could ever possess on instinct alone. To understand how this social memory operates, researchers turned their attention to the acoustic world of contact calls. At Amboseli National Park in Kenya, Dr. Karen McComb and her team designed playback experiments to test social recognition. They played high-fidelity recordings of low-frequency contact rumbles across the open plains to resting family herds. The results demonstrated that adult females recognized the specific voices of around 100 other individual adults. These recognizable voices spanned roughly 14 distinct family groups scattered across hundreds of square miles. This was not simply recognizing immediate relatives, but holding a comprehensive social map of an entire regional population. Publishing in Science in 2001, McComb titled the seminal paper "Matriarchs as Repositories of Social Knowledge in African Elephants." That title encapsulated a central insight. A herd's intelligence is stored within its oldest member. The study revealed striking differences in how families responded when encountering an unfamiliar caller. When confronted with recorded calls of strangers, families led by a 55-year-old matriarch bunched together defensively. By contrast, families led by a matriarch of 35 years showed little defensive reaction to the same unfamiliar voice. The older females had lived long enough to learn that unfamiliar strangers are far more likely to provoke severe conflict. Her experience converted acoustic subtle cues into immediate, life-saving protection for the herd's young calves. This capacity to evaluate danger extends well beyond their own species to predators sharing the ecosystem. In a separate rigorous field study, researchers tested elephant responses to predator vocalizations. Over a period spanning more than 2 years, scientists broadcast 72 distinct lion roar recordings to 39 elephant families. The experiment revealed a remarkably specific pattern of acoustic discrimination among the herds. Families led by older matriarchs listened to male lion roars for significantly longer periods than to female roars. Younger matriarchs, by comparison, reacted to both male and female lion roars with roughly equal attention. To an elephant herd, that acoustic distinction is a matter of critical threat assessment. Male lions possess far greater size and power, making them considerably more dangerous to vulnerable elephant calves. Distinguishing the deeper roar of a male from a female is not an innate instinct, but a refined skill learned over time. In 2014, researchers extended this investigation to evaluate how elephants process human vocal cues. Using 35 recorded voice samples from different human groups around Amboseli, they observed clear differences in reactions. The elephants adjusted their threat response according to the speaker's specific ethnic group, age, and biological sex. They showed heightened defensive caution toward voices corresponding to groups historically associated with cattle hunting. These extraordinary cognitive feats are supported by the physical architecture of the elephant brain. Relative to total body size, Elephants possess an exceptionally large hippocampus and temporal lobe structures. These specific brain regions are deeply implicated in processing complex spatial memory and long-term social recognition. Yet biological structures alone only tell part of the story, leaving open the question of how memory functions in extreme crises. The most compelling real-world evidence for long-term spatial memory occurred during an environmental calamity. In 1993, Tarangire National Park in northern Tanzania suffered a devastating drought that lasted 9 brutal months. Seasonal streams evaporated into dry sand, and grass turned to brittle yellow dust across the sanctuary. Under normal ecological conditions in Tarangire, calf mortality hovers at a stable baseline of roughly 2%. During the relentless 1993 drought, 16 out of 81 monitored calves died across 3 studied families. That tragic toll represented a staggering calf mortality rate of 20%. As conditions deteriorated, the 3 resident elephant families faced a critical survival decision. 2 of those family groups made the uncharacteristic choice to leave the park boundaries altogether. These 2 migrating herds were led by older matriarchs, aged 38 and 45. The 3rd family group chose to remain inside the drying park boundaries. That stationary family was led by a considerably younger matriarch, who was 33 years old. The mortality records documented a stark and unambiguous outcome between the groups. The 2 families that departed Tarangire lost far fewer calves than the family that stayed behind. By leaving the park, the older leaders had successfully guided their young to distant, reliable refuges. To explain this dramatic divergence in survival, researchers looked back into regional climate history. 35 years prior, between 1958 and 1961, northern Tanzania had suffered an equally severe historical drought. Simple arithmetic reveals the key distinction. A 45-year-old matriarch in 1993 had lived through that earlier drought. The 38-year-old matriarch had also been alive during that critical historical window. Crucially, the 33-year-old matriarch had not yet been born when that earlier crisis struck. The 2 matriarchs who led their herds out of the park were repeating a survival journey they had taken decades prior. They remembered where permanent water remained when local sources dried up completely. Researchers are careful to point out that this conclusion remains an inference rather than a direct measurement. No scientist can ask an elephant what thoughts or memories guided her steps across the dry terrain. What stands documented in hard data is the precise ages of the matriarchs, the routes taken, and calf survival. Retained spatial memory from 3 decades past remains the most scientifically plausible explanation for their actions. Discoveries of this depth are only possible through decades of continuous, unbroken field observation. The long-term Amboseli Elephant Research Project, founded by Dr. Cynthia Moss, has tracked individual elephants across generations. By identifying named individuals from birth to old age, researchers transformed wild observations into rigorous science. This research reveals a startling reality about how elephant society stores life-saving information. All of this crucial ecological knowledge resides exclusively in the mind of the oldest animal in the herd. She alone remembers where water survived in 1961 and which predator roars signal genuine danger. She holds the social identities of 100 distinct peers and knows which strangers will start violent fights. None of this information is recorded in physical form, and none of it is genetically encoded as instinct. It is held within one living mind, passed on only through the physical act of being followed. An old elephant is far more than simply an aging member of a biological population. She is the sole surviving copy of a living navigational library that required 40 years of experience to compile. When a matriarch dies, her family does not simply inherit her vast storehouse of knowledge. They lose it entirely, leaving younger generations far more vulnerable to future environmental crises. Tragically, the individual elephants with the longest memories and most critical knowledge are, without exception, the ones targeted for their large tusks. Removing an old matriarch from the wild erases decades of ecological history in a single moment. If the survival of an entire herd depends on a living memory map built across decades, what does it mean for a species when its oldest libraries are systematically removed from the wild? Share your thoughts in the comments below and consider subscribing to join us for more deep explorations into the hidden intelligence of the natural world.